Hi everyone. Today we have a very special guest on the Digital Sneha show. She is a content writer. She has written successful ebooks, more than 7 ebooks. She is an agency owner and she is known as the LinkedIn girl. Yes, she is none other than Shreya Pattar. Let's welcome Shreya.
Hey Sneha, hi.
Hi Shreya, how are you doing?
I'm good, I'm good. How are you?
Thank you so much for accepting my invitation.
Very happy to be here.
Yeah, sure. So let's start with the session. So I would really like to know your journey, that how you started your freelancing and how you transformed yourself into an agency owner.
So my journey as such started with just my interest in writing. I think that's where it goes back to, and I've been writing since I was really young. And that was more of writing for myself, writing poems, writing musings and things like that. And after my high school, before college, I did a few internships where I understood what is social media writing, what is content writing, copywriting. And in the first year of college, I had an opportunity to meet the CEO of LinkedIn. And I wrote a post about that on LinkedIn. That was my first ever post on LinkedIn. And it went viral. It had over 1.5 million views. And because of that post, a lot of people messaged me that they wanted me to write for them. And that's how I started freelancing. And this was over 4 years ago. So it's been a long time. And I think from there, the natural trajectory towards growth was to transition from a solo freelancer to a team to an agency, and that's just the path I've taken. So that's a quick summary of how I got started.
Wow, love it. Like you said, that you posted your first content on LinkedIn and that got viral. So, like, did
Yeah,
you applied any strategy or was that a coincidence?
I don't think that's a coincidence. If you think about it, before I wrote that post, I've been writing like every day for over 10 years. So if you think that's a coincidence in the sense that, yeah, well, that way, I think the virality, obviously, I didn't expect it. I didn't expect the post to do so well. I had never published content online before, so that was a new thing. Like at that time, I wasn't using Instagram, I wasn't using Twitter. So LinkedIn was the only platform that I had a profile on, and I just thought that I'm at the CEO of LinkedIn, so it makes sense to post it on LinkedIn, right? That's what I did, and the virality was not expected. I didn't expect that sort of numbers. But at the same time, I think the the quality of writing that came through the post, that was definitely a lot of hard work over the many years before that. And I also, of course, it wouldn't have been the same if I had stopped at that one viral LinkedIn post and been like, oh, okay, it's done. That's not the point. The point is to do it every single day, do it as many times as possible and be consistent with it. And I think just doing that has helped a lot. So yeah, it's definitely been life changing being, having written that post and seeing where it went.
So, like, that was the first platform you started with, and now you are all over the social media, whether it is Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, right? You are on
Mhm.
every platform. According to you, like, which platform do you like the most?
Oh, I don't have a favorite platform. I think each has its own benefits.
Right.
So LinkedIn for me is mostly for my business, my services agency. Instagram for me is teaching freelancing, educating people on online businesses, how to do it themselves. Twitter is also very similar to educational. So I think each platform has its own benefits, and also LinkedIn is very text heavy. I love writing for LinkedIn. Reels, I enjoy shooting reels. Sometimes I'm very moody about reels, but yeah, sometimes I enjoy shooting reels as well. So I just get to explore these different types of content, different types of audiences, different ways to actually communicate with my audience as well. So I enjoy all of that. So no favorite platform as such.
Right. So, like, every platform has different algorithms and different things, and you are enjoying everything.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, you love writing, we all know that, but you are really good at reels. We really like the way you create reels, you shoot reels. So, like, what do you think? Is it easy to write or is it easy to create reels?
I think both have their own time and space. I honestly I don't see these things like is making a reel easier or is writing easier, because it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter, right?
Right.
You have to do what you have to do for each platform. So for example, I think the one challenge I would say with reels that I had was that reels entertaining content works the best. So how do, and I'm not in the entertainment space. So for the first 1.5 years, I was only making talking reels mostly. So I'm talking about it. I tried the entertainment side. I just didn't get a hang of it. But last year, I think I just got a way to use that entertainment, but also teach people. So
Hmm.
now it's on the like the reels are fun, the reels are different, but also the captions are in depth and the captions are the real like value adders, if you could say that.
Hmm.
So I think it's more about like just learning to adapt to whatever the platform demands. And it has its own challenges. But yeah, I think like it's not really about easy or difficult. It's just like doing what you've got to do kind of thing.
So, like, what challenges you have faced in Reels?
I think reels is just that you have to writing is something I feel like you can do at any point of time.
Right.
Like most of my writing, I used to do it like in the middle of the night or like wherever, if I'm on the bus to college or something like that, I can write something and put it up. But it changes when you're doing reels, right? You have to be proper and you have to have the proper lighting and the angles. And depending on what sort of reel you're making, you might need to find the right audio for it, and you might need to edit it, and then you add your captions and again after like add your subtitles and you have your captions and everything. So I just think there's a lot more elements that goes into a reel. So a text post, let's say like on LinkedIn, for example, is a post, but then you just think of it, if you think of it as a real script. So in that sense, for what is just like the start and the end process for LinkedIn is only the beginning of the entire process for an Instagram reel. So I
Hmm.
think that changes a lot of things, because here you write and you're done, but on Instagram you write and that's where it's begun. Now you still have to shoot it and you still have to edit it and then put it out. So that's something that is different. Also, just generally, I've been more of a writer. I haven't spent a lot of time on camera. Although in the last 2 years, that has changed with reels and with doing all these podcasts and interviews. That has changed for sure. Um, but yeah, just it's fun. It's fun regardless, especially because I didn't expect it, but a lot of people do enjoy how that entertainment comes through, even for some a topic like freelancing and online business. So I'm just grateful that people enjoy it.
Yes, like we really love your reels, your entertainment and information you are mixing. We really love it. And I saw one of your YouTube video where you have vlogged, like you have written a ebook in 3 days and you have vlogged it.
Mhm.
And you said that it is quite difficult to create a vlog.
Yeah.
So how reels and vlogs are different, and how was your experience?
So today I have a lot of things to do, a lot of different things. So today morning when I woke up, I just recorded a few things thinking I'll make a vlog out of it. And I think 2 hours into it, I just completely forgot that I'm doing that. And now I have no more footage except for some from the morning. That's one challenge where if you're not used to it, you don't remember doing it in the first place. Second is that I think it just distracts you from what you're doing, because instead of actually just doing that thing, you are worried about, oh, where is the camera, where is the light, and then every time you have to get up and move the camera, so just like breaking the flow of your work. So considering I haven't done that, I find that strange. Also, I'm the kind of person who you must have heard of this thing called the flow state, right? So
Mhm.
there's this state where if you just do something for let's say 15-20 minutes, after that you forget about time and you're just sitting there for like 3-4 hours, maybe reading a book, maybe writing something, and it just like time flies away. I get into that very easily if I'm doing like if I'm writing especially. So sometimes when I vlog, I forget that I put my phone there and it'll stop recording at some point, but then I'll open and I'll see like it's a 45-minute video. And it stopped recording because the phone ran out of memory, to record more. So I just feel like all these things I'm just not so hyper aware. And vlogging means like I'm not getting anything done probably. So I've only done it once, by the way. Maybe I'll do it again. But yeah, that's what I meant by vlogging is challenging, and it just kind of distracts you from your day to day.
Right, but you got really good response on that video.
I realized that nobody has done a video like that, so I
Yes.
was surprised. Yeah.
Yes. So, like when you started your freelancing, definitely when we start something, we make mistakes. So,
Mm.
you must have made some mistakes. So, what was the mistakes you have made in your initial days, and what lesson did you learn from that?
Okay, I think mistakes would be being very reactive. I think that was the number one mistake I made as a new freelancer. I I was very reactive in terms of how the client would respond to me or any objections that they would come up with, or just some. I have had a lot of experiences where we've done everything, we've signed the contract, and we've started work, but once the work is like 75% done, that's when they say, no, 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 that's not what we want, to completely change it. And then just to have that sort of calmness and just to have that sort of composure in that point, it was difficult, and it was not something I was even considering working on. So I think that was one of the main mistakes I made, just being reactive. Now I'm not. Now most things don't phase me, and even
Mhm.
if it phases me, I'll just like be under pressure and I get things done. But yeah, I don't let it like get to me in the ways that it used to. So that has been an important mindset shift. The second thing would be to just not have systems in place, like just to be winging it every day. Like, okay, yeah, today maybe I closed a deal, tomorrow I didn't. Like there was no tracking. I wasn't keeping a list of how many deals were closed, how many people have I spoken with, who have I spoken to, why did they say yes, why did they say no. Like I had no process of understanding my target audience, and that was a problem. Now I have that, so now I maintain an Excel sheet about like conversations I've had and what the response was and things like that. That's important as well. I think the third mistake that I made as such was thinking that I'm doing okay. Um, so I think when I started freelancing, I was in the first year of college, right? So in the first month, I made around like $250 or something. In the next few months, I was at $500 per month steady. And I kept thinking about it from the salary point of view, that if I was in college right now, get a job, then this would be much more than what a newbie writer would get as a salary. And so I was very happy with $500. And I thought hitting that 10K milestone per month, it will take years. That's what I thought.
Mhm.
And so I was just like taking it slow, giving it time and things like that. But I think 2 years later, I hit my 10K month 2 years later. And then I joined Twitter. And then I realized people are racing to their 10K month within their first 2 months, within their first month. That's what they're doing. And that's because they didn't have that limitation in their head that no, I'm doing okay compared to what I would have done and blah, blah, blah. So that wasn't there. So I feel like if I didn't have that limitation, if I didn't have that mindset where I'm like, yeah, this is more than I would have got, then I would have been further along much faster. I don't know if anyone else thinks that way, but of course it depends. Like maybe $500 is enough for you. I'm not denying that. But just in terms of growth for me personally, I wish I would have understood that sooner, that I don't have to take 2 years to hit 10K. I can actually make like work harder and make it happen like in the next 3 months. So yeah, something definitely to think about. Yeah.
So in how much time did you hit your first 10K?
2 years probably, yeah. Little over 2 years.
You have mentioned a very right point that people are just getting started out and they are thinking that they want to hit 10K.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think the mindset is the problem, they have feeded like money is everything and they are focusing on money and not on the work.
No, when I say that people are making 10K, I'm saying it in a positive way. I'm
Right.
saying it in a way that people are able to hit their first 10K month in their first month of freelancing itself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of mindset I wish I had. Now, some people may see it as toxic. Some people may see it as, oh, you're promoting money or you're trying to say money is everything. That's not the point. The point is you are trying to fend for yourself. You're building something that's yours. And it makes sense that the faster you act on certain things, the faster you get to that 10K, 20K mark, the
Mm-hmm.
easier it'll be to scale from there. Because it's actually much easier to go from 0 to 10K. The hardest would actually be 0 to 1K. Like making your
Right.
first $1,000 is the most difficult thing. 0 to 10K then gets easy. Up to 20K is also similar processes. Anything above 20K is different because you have to change everything about the way you work. That's when it slows down.
Right.
That's when you have to think about hiring, about managing multiple people, about outsourcing, about paying salaries, all of that. That's what makes it challenging to scale beyond the 25K per month mark.
Mhm.
So just keeping that in mind, I personally don't see it as toxic. For me, that's important. I'm in this line of work because I enjoy
Right.
that push that I have to give myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. Um, so yeah, if anyone watching this, if you feel like hitting $10,000 per month is too much pressure, I do not encourage you to take that. like I said, it's something that I find important for myself, and that's something I chase. That's it.
Yes, like in initial days, it is quite difficult, but once you have hit a mark, then it's easy to reach to 10K or 20K.
Yeah, it still requires work. I will not say it's easy, but just that once you've made your first few $1,000s,
Right.
you get a hang of it, right? You know what is it that helped me make this money. So how many clients did I have to close? How much effort did I put in? What exactly? What methods did I get this client from? You
Mhm.
do more of that. So you have this like the sample size going on because okay, I did 10 things out of this, three things worked, seven things didn't. So now you
Mhm.
eliminate those seven, you work only on those three more and more. So that's how you build and that's how you scale.
Yeah, so tracking is also a very important part to have a consistent income and revenue every month.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And you are having 1,38,000 followers on LinkedIn. How much time did you took to hit that much mark?
It's been 4 years since creating content on LinkedIn. I think again, there also the first few thousand were the longest. I went from, I think, 40,000 to 100,000 very quickly compared to like in half the time as it took me to go from zero to like 30,
Mhm.
40K or something. So it definitely compounds. And yeah, you can definitely do it in shorter amounts of time, I think.
So, like, what will you advise to the people who are just starting out and they have very big dreams to hit 1K in just a month or two, or to hit any revenue mark in few months only?
I would say it's good to have goals, but also be very realistic about it. And more than the outcome, initially you should focus more on the input. So instead of thinking, okay, I want to hit maybe 100,000 followers on LinkedIn, don't think of it that way. Think of it as for the rest of the year, I want to post at least 4 times per week and I
Right,
want to post high quality content. So if I'm taking 2 days to write one post, like I'm working on it on one day and then I'm editing it on the second day, I will do that. I'm willing to do that. I will spend time analyzing other people's posts, other people's content, and I will then recreate something that works for me. That's how you set goals initially. Because nothing else is going to help you. If you haven't created any content, if you haven't published it, if you haven't understood what is your audience enjoying, what are you enjoying creating, what sort of response you're getting, if you haven't done all of that, you don't know what to do more of.
right,
So once you do that, let's say in the first 3 months, you understand a certain post style is working very well for you. Then in the next 3 months, you only stick to that. You do more of that. So that's how your growth compounds and that's how you get better results. So I think a lot of people try to like skip that phase where,
right.
you're just trying to chase this end goal of how many followers or how many impressions or how much revenue. But what about the action steps? The action step would be post 20 times a month. Or the action step in terms of revenue would be to speak to, let's say, get on a call with 10 leads every month. So out of those, you expect to close three or four. Are you
Mhm.
getting on 10 calls every month? If you aren't, then that goal of hitting 10K doesn't matter. At the same time, if you don't have an offer, let's say you're charging like 100 or $200 per client, hitting a 10K month is not possible. You can't work with 100 or 50 different clients every single month to make that happen. So you have to be practical about these things. And like I said, just narrow it down to your action points. That'll give you a more realistic overview of your goals as well.
Yes, having realistic goals and do things which are in your hand. You don't know how
Mhm.
much number you will get, but how much to post is in your hand.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
that's
And
true.
like, what is your experience with, how did you got your first client? How was your experience working with him? And how much did you charge for your first client?
My first client, I had to write brochure copy for them. Um, No, this was afterwards. Okay, I had multiple clients in the same phase because of my post going viral. So I was working like five different people. Like on the same day, I closed like four or five people. Um, but yeah, my first client was actually somebody I wrote an article for, and I wrote an article about the very same experience. So he had a blog and he wanted me to write something explaining my conversation with the CEO of LinkedIn and how that happened and what was the outcome and things like that. So he paid me $75 for that, and it was pretty smooth. So I wrote the article, I sent it across, he added some comments, some changes that he required. I made those changes, I sent it across, and then he just instantly paid via PayPal transfer. And that was the first time I made money online. So yeah, it was thrilling. And it was fairly straightforward. So that was nice.
So have you ever worked with toxic clients and you are like, why I am working with this person? Like, have you ever been in this
Toxic
situation?
clients, a lot of toxic clients, especially in the first 2 years. I think anybody who negotiated ended up not being a good client. Anybody who talked too much about payment in terms of like, okay, we don't want to pay in advance at all. We can't even pay 50% advance. They were toxic clients. Anybody who was praising you too much or praising your work too much ended up being a toxic client. So I have these things in mind now. Like I'm able to identify whether working with somebody is going to be a good experience or not, based on just like the sales call we have. Um, but yeah, definitely a lot of experiences.
Do you still face
So
these
many.
kind of clients?
In some ways, not really, because things change. First of all, once you start charging more, when you're charging like 100, $150 per month, then a lot of people can afford that service.
Right.
When you're charging like 2,000, 3,000, $5,000 per month, there's a very small part of the world that can afford that service. And that part of the world, if they can afford that service, they have a different type of personality, they have a different type of importance and value for your work, and they're invested also in a different way. They're actually invested in making things happen, and they don't nitpick. They don't nitpick on small things, they just keep things moving. So yeah, as in how you charge more, that changes as in how you become more experienced. It's not
Right.
just about charging, obviously.
Right.
So if maybe a client is like they can afford it and everything, and I feel like I can add value to them. But if there's a certain thing that they say on a sales call that's just not right, then I wouldn't work with them anymore. So yeah, there are definitely like red flags as we call them,
Yeah.
but that experience changes over time. You become more resilient about these things. So you are either willing to take it on as a challenge and actually, see if this is a one-off thing, then you will try to do your best to like make sure it doesn't happen again. Or you're just very unfazed when you say, hey, sorry, we cannot work together anymore, and that's it. And you're just fine. So that toxicity doesn't really get to you anymore, if that makes sense.
Right, right. So what is Shreya's red flag for negative clients?
Oh, so many. So I've done a lot of posts on this. So I think one thing would be anybody who is not paying in advance. So that's
Yeah.
one thing. Second thing would be if you're just delaying the process, like I need more samples, I need a proposal. Like if you just keep adding on, of course you can ask for samples and proposals, but if every time you're like, no, no, but I want to see this specifically, no, I want to see this, that's too much. No.
Mhm.
Another would be when somebody is just expecting you to be available 24/7, when they just call you any time of the day, or they just, they are expecting instant response, no matter what part of the world they're in or what part of the world you're in. If they just keep like sending question marks over text, expecting a response like every 10 minutes, that's a red flag. On a sales call, it would also just be how they talk about
Right.
your work. Like they'd be like, no, no, I know I could have just done it myself, but you know what? I just thought maybe it's nice to just outsource it because I don't have time. That means they don't value the work. They think that they could have done it, but it's only the time that's stopping them, apparent time. But all that time will become available suddenly when they have to give you feedback, and they'll nitpick every single post. So you have to be aware of certain things. Yeah, so these are some of the red flags, but luckily, like I haven't had much experience with this in the last few times. Like I said, as you grow, you just like you learn to overlook these things. Like it doesn't get to you, so it's okay.
So do you have any funny experience with any of your clients?
Not funny as such. I think I think there was one post that the client was very sure would not be worth posting. And I was like, no, we definitely should. And we did. And that post went viral. And that was like the first post of that client's to go viral. And that client actually ended up kind of freaking out because it just kept picking up like millions and millions of views on the post.
Wow.
And the client just kind of freaked out, like, what's happening. They're gonna, I cannot take this. I don't know how to respond to all these comments and things like that. And we were like, it's okay. So I think that was just not funny, but it was very interesting to see like how we were very adamant that yes, this post will do well. It did. And it's just like the client wasn't prepared for it. The client wasn't ready for a viral post. And we all just found it very interesting how that works.
Right, great. Love it. Love this experience. So, like, when did you decided that now you are done with freelancing? Like, you want to transform from freelancer to an agency owner?
I don't think there's this clear cut line. It just happens over time because you start getting work that's much more than you can do by yourself. So you start
Mhm.
hiring people. Also, I think one thing I've understood is that there's only certain part of my work that I am really good at, and there's certain part of the work that I enjoy most. And there are some places where this will overlap, but in most cases it doesn't overlap. So I'm trying to do more of what I enjoy plus what helps me build my business and do less of um, anything that takes up too much of my time that I don't particularly enjoy and that could actually be outsourced. So I'm trying to focus more on things that I really want to be doing. And interest change, I think that just happens. And I think I just don't want to be working every day. Like I don't want to be doing certain tasks. So I'm just like, okay, we have to build a team, we have to grow from here and eventually just not be on the 24/7 on the laptop kind of person.
So, how freelancing and agency, being an agency owner is different, and what challenges you have faced while being a agency owner?
Freelancing is mostly you doing work yourself, right? So you're doing it in a personal capacity. You might have one person to help you out, like one or two people. Like that's pretty much it. You don't have systems at that point. You don't have processes. You're fairly small. Like I think in a solo capacity, you could be doing like $10,000 or $12,000 per month in a solo capacity. That's possible, considering you have a solid offer. Um, but anything beyond that, you need other people to be working with you. And that's when the agency model comes in, right? So you are not actually doing the work, at least you try not to. Initially, you still do. Like now, even in this phase, I'm still doing client work, which I don't want to be doing. I want to be out of that. And I want to be overlooking things and building systems and growing, scaling my business rather than being into service fulfillment. So you start finding people who can fulfill the services that you have clients for. You do training, you have to train people, you have to edit their work, and you have to trust people. I think that's the most important
Right.
aspect of it all because you have to trust that other people can do their job. And if they don't do their job right, you have to still trust in them that if you tell them how to do it, they will be able to do it. They will learn over time. And I think that trust factor is very important because especially when you're a freelancer and when you've been working by yourself for so many years, you have this thought in your head that nobody can do this task like I can, nobody can do it as good as I can. And that's it might be true, may not be true. It's definitely not true. There's definitely a lot of people who can do it better than you, or at least at a level where you have something that can move ahead and without you having to spend too many hours and hours on it. So like you get a first draft, you get a solid first draft that you can improve upon in 10 minutes instead of having spent 6 hours writing. So from that point of view, I think trusting is the most um, challenging part of it, that mindset switch, and trusting people and just people management because you cannot really control how people work and how people think and how people approach things. So
Mhm.
just learning how to manage people is also super important.
Right. So, like, what do you think if we are starting freelancing or if we are, running an agency, is it important to do a MBA or to go for a job for experience?
I have done neither. I don't have an MBA. I've never had a job, so no.
Great, great. So, you're currently living in Dubai, right?
Yeah.
So, like, when did you decided that you want to shift to Dubai, and how was your parents' reaction at that time?
It was a group discussion, to be honest. Like we were thinking, where should I move? And my parents suggested Dubai. So it was because I think that time Dubai was talking a lot about freelancer visa and all these things. So we didn't really have a lot of options. Dubai is very close to India as well. It's like a 3-hour flight if I ever want to go back home. So yeah, I'm like, okay, good start, Dubai. I decided this once I decided to leave college a year early. So I was like, okay, I'm done with college, but I don't want to be home. So where should I go? That's when I decided. It took about a year before I could actually move here. Um, but yeah, it happened. I'm glad it happened.
How is it different, like living at your family place and living alone in a different city?
It's I find it very freeing, but not in the sense that I'm not free at home, not that way. It's just that I have my own space and I prefer that. Because when you're at home, there's a lot of people around and things like that. So I just also when I was in college, I was living in a hostel. It was my room, and I just had the space to do anything I wanted. So I could stay up and be working until like 3, 4 in the morning. It doesn't matter. I wake up at like 11. It doesn't disturb anybody else. Based on time zone, I could have a call at like 8 in the morning or 11 in the night. It doesn't bother anyone else. So
Mm-hmm.
just the fact that I could schedule my day around myself and not have to think about, okay, maybe this person has this plan or maybe this person has their call and their meeting and
Mm-hmm.
all of that. That doesn't happen. There's a lot of freedom that way. And also just I think just being in my kind of work, the kind of work I do, I just prefer having that sort of space. I've always preferred, like, I'm always very much in my own head. I could even be around a group of people, but I'm still thinking of something else. It's very much possible. It's always happened that way. So just having my own place is like, oh, it's just a next step, where nobody's disturbing my thought process. So it's nice being in a creative field. It's very helpful.
So, do you have any challenges while shifting or while living alone?
Yeah, of course, like the usual challenges, I would say. A routine becomes a bit difficult because again, it's your own day, you decide everything, so that becomes a bit difficult. I had a lot of challenges with in terms of just like cooking and cleaning and all those kinds of things. Now I don't because over time you learn how to manage these things. So small things like that. And when you're sick, I think the worst is when you're sick, right? You don't have somebody at home to like give you food or like even bring you medicine and stuff. So if you're sick, you have to call the pharmacist and you have to the pharmacy and you have to like order your own medicines. You have to get up and go to the door so that you can take the medicine. All this stuff, like I know it sounds small, but like when you're sick, you're really sick, right? And then if you can't move and just even that much, doing that much feels like, okay, no, I don't want to be doing it. So I think that comfort definitely it just goes away. And also small things like, I'm very scared of bugs. So if I see a cockroach in the house, I will run out of the house normally. But now I've learned to like smack them and pick them up and throw them out. So you learn different things. Not that it's a problem, but once or twice, whenever it's happened, yeah, it makes you stronger, I think.
Yes, definitely. So, do you think that like living at home can give you that exposure or you can achieve your goals or whatever there is in your head? Like being in a comfort zone, you can say.
I think it depends. Like if you're asking about me, then I prefer being out of it because when I know that I have to pay my own rent, like I have my own bank account where the money is going from every month, my own rent, my all of my expenses, it's my money. And I have to be aware of every time I'm paying for something, it's me paying for it. I'm not using like it's on my parents' money or something. I'm more aware. And then that awareness definitely pushes you to want to do better and make more money and do things differently. If not, like if you're at home, and for me, if I'm at home, then there's a lot of comfort because um the food is there, the bills, I don't have to pay the bills, I don't have to think about anything else. If I want to go out, like I just book a cab and I go out. Like I don't have to think about anything. It's just there. And I think that does put you in a lot of like this cocoon because you're like, oh, there's no expense there is for the house, like, but you don't see it as your own thing. You just
Mm-hmm.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even those small things make a lot of impact as to how you approach the importance of the things that you're doing.
So, what
Yeah.
is your best and worst experience in the entire journey?
I don't have anything like that. It's very difficult to kind of like categorize things as best and worst overall. and my
Please
journey has not ended.
explain.
It just like just begun kind of thing. Well, I think anything that's been a bad time would be my reactiveness initially.
Hmm.
Those initial years were, I had some really bad clients that got to me for like 3, 4 days and stuff. Like I was just in breakdown mode. So that happened. That was difficult. And I think good things that have happened is definitely one of the things that I really like is that I started talking about charging in advance. And now it's a thing that freelancers do. Because in India, freelancers don't normally charge in advance. They get paid after the work is completed, which
Hmm.
means they don't get paid at all in most cases.
Hmm.
So I've been pushing that no, we don't have to do that. We have to start charging and getting paid before we start the work. And I think just seeing that difference and that impact, because people do message me saying, I started doing that and now I'm making all of my money and I'm making good money. I'm working with better clients because, they trust me, they're paying in advance. So I think that has been a very good experience out of it all, that I'm able to create a real impact in the world. Yeah.
Love it, love it. Have you ever faced that self-doubt? Like you are thinking, Shreya is nothing, I can't do anything. Have you ever felt like that?
Happens sometimes, but it's not that I feel like I can't do anything. It's just that sometimes it feels like, why are things not moving?
Hmm.
Like I'm giving it my best. I don't think I can do more than this at this point, so why is it still not moving?
Hmm.
I think that is when it hits me sometimes. But yeah, you just keep doing it anyway. You just like think about it for some time and then you move on from it.
Right. And what is the piece of advice you would like to give to the people who are just starting out the freelancing?
I think we did share a lot of advice in the entire episode so far.
Yes.
It would be to set goals, yes, but set more actionable goals rather than outcome-based goals. So what is it that you're going to do every day for the next 6 months? So for the next 6 months, let's say you're going to post on LinkedIn twice a week, on Instagram 5 times a week, on Twitter every day. You're going to start reaching out to 10 people every day. You're going to start making sure that you're booking at least 10 calls a month, 10 sales calls a month. Like these are the action points that you have to pick out and you have to start working towards, rather than goal setting in terms of outcome. Like, oh, I want to hit 1,000 followers or I want to make 10K a month. Don't do that. The second thing I would definitely talk is charge in advance. So make sure you're getting paid before you start the work. And the third suggestion I would give for new freelancers is to consider working for people initially for free. So
Hmm.
you get that experience of working with people and you get an opportunity to build your portfolio while having the real world experience, but just not getting paid for it. But it's totally worth it. So the first one, two, three clients, don't hesitate to work with them for free and don't expect anything in return.
Great. Love this, Shreya. I love the entire session, the piece of advice you have given. Definitely, people are going to love this a lot.
I'm
Thank
glad. I'm
you
glad.
so much.
Thank you.